Hey there, this is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. I'm Jeff. I'm just doing a little setup today for where Matt is going to take us. He's doing a deep dive through the Old Testament prophet Zechariah and all the prophecies that are in that book, especially the one that connects to Jesus' words in Matthew 26, verse 31. So I'm going to have Jeff play some music. Oh, wait, that's me. Anyway, I'll play some music, and then Matt will get right back to it.
You might be thinking, wow, that's so much Bible already. I just don't know that I need any more from Zechariah. Well, tough nuts, because there's so much more smoking gun Messiah prophecy, and we're doing it all. Zechariah 9:9 says the following: Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter of Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and having salvation, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. This is not only fulfilled in the narrative of Matthew, and that's got to be the beginning of 21, as he's coming into town, but it's also fulfilled expressly. Matthew draws the direct connection. It's not a quote of Jesus, it's a quote of Matthew, which happens, this is all to take place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. This is Matthew 21:4. Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Zechariah 11 and 12-ish carry right along with the story that we've been seeing unfolding with Jesus later here in the book of Matthew. It was revoked on that day, and so the afflicted of the flock who were watching me knew it was the word of the Lord. I told them, if you think it best, give me my pay, but if not, keep it. So they paid me 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said to me, throw it to the potter, the handsome price at which they paid me. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of the Lord to the potter. And obviously, we just got done looking at the connections between that and the Judas stuff. There's more. Zechariah 12:10, and I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look on me, the one they've pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. And then right after that, at the beginning of chapter 13, Zechariah 13:1 says, on that day a fountain will be opened to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to cleanse them from sin and impurity. Again, like the stuff from chapter 9, or even the stuff from back in Isaiah 11 with the root of Jesse, there's this undercurrent of things being opened back up and God drawing people to himself, like a fulfillment of the whole Abrahamic covenant, that you're going to be a blessing to the nations and all the nations will be blessed through you. It's all in there. Verse 6 of Zechariah 13 gives us more smoking gun messianic stuff. If somebody asks him, what are these wounds on your body? He will answer, the wounds I was given at the house of my friends. And then verse 7, it says, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who is close to me, declares the Lord Almighty. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. Well, that's exactly the one we've been looking at in Matthew chapter 26 that prompted this entire conversation about the oft underrated prophet Zechariah and how much the story of Jesus' life and death are predicted there overtly. So again, when we come back to Matthew 26, now having a little bit more of this Zechariah stuff in our hip pocket, and we read this passage, and Jesus told them, this very night you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, quote, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. Jesus is invoking a messianic prophecy from all the way back in Zechariah, and that turn of a phrase, strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered, is precisely preceded by talking about these wounds on the body, and that just a couple of paragraphs earlier is preceded about this one who is going to be pierced. The point is, it's intentional. It all ties together. And if for you and me, this is our first or second careful look at it ever, we might not immediately catch what this hugely underrated prophet is pointing toward and the connections between Matthew and this hugely underrated prophet. But if we take any time at all to look at it, we see all of these specific points of connection, all of these big picture points of connection, and we better understand how, in order for Matthew and Jesus to round out that key thought of Jesus, I mean, remember, Matthew's written to a Jewish audience. He's trying to persuade them that Jesus is the completion of their story. Because of that, it makes so much sense that Matthew and Jesus keep pointing back to things from these two heavily messianic books to demonstrate that now, at every turn, Jesus and the story surrounding him is the fulfillment of the entire narrative and the projected forward into history prophetic arc of the story from the Old Testament. Might seem like a small deal to us, just a quick little throwaway reference or a quick little cultural nod to stuff from the past, but to the original audience who were steeped in this language, to whom Matthew was specifically writing with the intention of convincing them that Jesus was indeed the Messiah, this stuff would have hit hard, and it would have had a cumulative effect over time as just one after the next of these references to some of the parts of the Old Testament that predict the future that had people scratching their heads come into focus and are brought to bear and brought under consideration in light of the story of Jesus. I love working on this stuff, and I love the fact that the format that we share together here at times results in just a quick 3-day jaunt back into something we didn't really anticipate going to check out. But it is such good writing, and it hangs together so well, and it's so cohesive. And if you do this in another format, you don't really have the opportunities. And so I'm grateful for the very medium that we share here that allows us to come at it that way. It's super fun for me and super interesting. And hopefully if you're here, you feel the same way. I want to say thanks to everybody who supports the program at patreon.com/the TMBH podcast. As I'm recording this, it's the beginning of the month. And at the beginning of the month, I get some cute little notice from Patreon that's like, hey, there are a handful of people who think they are supporting the program, but the card expired and you should consider letting them know. And so I was like, that's weird. So from time to time, I've tried to remember to be like, hey, that can happen. If you want to check it, you can always check that. Also, you don't have to do anything. It's free, and I'm just glad that we get to hang out together. Thanks to those of you who've been able to support the program in some way, even for any limited amount of time. Just means the world to me, and you're awesome. Thanks to all of you for being here. Back into the heart of the narrative in Matthew 26 next time around. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.